was slowly approaching in Cloud Forest. The rounded trees murmured soft songs and the clouds swayed softly as if listening more closely. High above, Ollie, the baby blue teddy bear with soft fur and eyes as bright as peaceful stars, floated on his favorite cloud with his little golden book open in his lap. He smiled tenderly and said, "Once upon a time, 3 little pig brothers lived in a quiet corner of the forest. Their names were Puffy, Snuffy, and Fluffy. And today, something very special was going to happen." Puffy was the youngest, a chubby pink pig with a playful smile and a crooked straw hat that almost fell over his eyes. He loved chasing butterflies and playing with his peach-colored ball of cloth. Snuffy, the middle brother, had light peach fur and wore a blue bow tie that he tied himself every morning. He loved exploring hidden paths and was known for his meticulous attention to detail and hairstyle, even in the forest. Fluffy, the eldest, was calm and gentle. He wore round gold glasses that slipped slightly down his nose and a blue apron with white polka dots. He loved cooking, organizing, thinking, and above all, caring for his siblings. The 3 of them lived together in an enchanted little wooden cabin with a roof covered in bright moss. But that morning, something was different. Fluffy called his siblings for a special chat in the backyard under the shade of a lavender tree. "The day has come, my dears," Fluffy said softly. "We're each going to build our own little house. It's not because we want to be apart. It's because it's time to grow, to learn, and to make our own choices." Puffy looked surprised, the little ball of cloth clutched to his chest. "But I love being together so much." "And we'll stay together, only now with our own little corners," Fluffy replied with a warm smile. Snuffy placed his paw on his chin thoughtfully. I'm already imagining my house with mirrors, hanging plants, and a really stylish porch. Mine will be simple. I want it to be as light as clouds, made of straw perhaps." "And I," said Fluffy with gentle firmness, "will build with magic bricks. Not because I am the strongest, but because I like things that take time and care." And so the 3 siblings hugged tightly and began their journey. Each chose a small corner of the woods. Puffy went down to the open field full of dancing flowers. Snuffy walked along a path between fragrant trees, and Fluffy climbed to a quiet hill overlooking the sky. From above, Ollie closed the book for a moment and whispered tenderly, "Sometimes growing up is building your own nest, but never forgetting where hugs come from." And the wind blew softly, scattering dream seeds along the trails the little pigs were beginning to tread. The sun in Cloud Forest shone tenderly, as if it were curious to see what the 3 little pigs would build that day. Puffy walked happily through the flowery field, where the flowers danced in the wind and the birds sang delicate notes like crystal bells. His crooked straw hat swung as he chased floating dandelions, holding his peach-colored ball of cloth in one paw and smiling with the other, puffed out with joy. "This will be the perfect place for my home," he exclaimed, stopping beside a flat, heart-shaped stone. The field was open, with pale blue grass and small, round trees in shades of mint green. A stream ran nearby, whispering softly between the shiny stones, and clouds floated low, as if to peek in. Puffy looked around and soon found mounds of golden straws blowing in the wind, thin, light, and full of sparkle. he began to gather them one by one, humming, "Light, light little house, made of laughter, wind, and thread." He didn't care about rules or measurements. What mattered to Puffy was that the house had a roof where he could see the sky, walls that let the breeze through, and a little window to hear the crickets. Soon the structure of the house began to take shape. 4 crooked walls, a door that creaked like a bird's laughter, and a roof woven with dried flowers. The interior was simple and sweet. Puffy scattered pastel-colored pillows on the floor, hung colorful ribbons from the ceiling, and placed his little ball of cloth right in the middle of the room on a star-shaped rug. Up above, Ollie floated with his little golden book open, watching with a loving gaze. Puffy built a home with lightness and heart, and even if it's not strong, it's full of poetry. Suddenly, a sound of soft footsteps approached. It was Mr. Lupo, the gentle wolf, with his soft, light gray fur and a pale green scarf tied around his neck. He walked calmly, carrying a small wicker basket filled with shiny apples and fragrant dried leaves. "Hello, little piggy," he said softly, bowing respectfully. "What a charming little house you made." Puffy was a little startled at first, hugging the little ball of cloth tightly, but Mr. Lupo soon sat down at a distance, unhurried, and held out an apple with a gentle smile. "I didn't come to blow on anything. I just came to say hi." Puffy, curious and gentle, slowly reached out and took the apple. It was sweet as honey. "Do you want to see inside?" he asked shyly. Mr. Lupo smiled and accepted. He entered, bending down carefully so as not to dent anything. He looked around, enchanted by the soft colors and floating ornaments. "It's like being in a dream," he murmured. And for a few minutes, the two of them sat on the ground, savoring apples and listening to the sound of the wind passing through the golden straws. Up above, Ollie turned a page in his little golden book and said softly, "Sometimes the sweetest encounters are born from open doors and curious hearts." And the clouds drifted slowly by, holding that moment as if it were a soft memory. While Puffy frolicked in the flower field, Snuffy walked along a fragrant trail of fresh leaves and anise flowers. The wind gently ruffled his blue tie, and he walked with his head held high, analyzing every detail of the surrounding forest like an enchanted architect. "I need style, personality, a balance between charm and shadow," he murmured, stroking the hairs on his topknot with a paw. Soon he found a perfect spot between 2 twisted, delicate trees, their vines hanging like curtains of an enchanted theater. The ground was covered in dry, pastel-colored leaves, and sunlight filtered through the branches, creating soft patterns on the ground. "This is it. It's going to be a beautiful house with leafy porches and the scent of wood." Snuffy gathered smooth, flexible branches, all carefully chosen. Nothing could be too crooked or too dull. He tied everything together with ribbons made from woven bark, creating interwoven wooden walls. On the roof, he placed dried petals and feathers he found along the way. Everything was done with and a lot of comfort. On the door, he hung a mobile made from seashells and beads found in the stream. Inside, there were pillows with leaf patterns, mirrors hung with vines, a low table with fresh flowers, and of course, a corner just for grooming his bow tie. Up above, Ollie the baby blue teddy bear with bright eyes and a dreamy expression floated with the little golden book open on his knees. He watched tenderly. Snuffy built with beauty, care, and style. Your house is a reflection of your meticulous heart. Shortly after, Snuffy heard footsteps slowly approaching. From the middle of the trail, Mr. Lupo appeared, the gentle wolf with light gray fur and calm eyes, his pale green scarf fluttering in the wind. He carried a small basket on his back, filled with fragrant tea leaves. Snuffy tensed a little and straightened his tie, but Mr. Lupo bowed politely. "Hello, little builder. I've come to bring you mint leaves from the fresh valley. They say they help relax the mind." Snuffy narrowed his eyes curiously. "Don't you want to blow up my house?" "Blow it? Oh, no. Only if it's with compliments," Mr. Lupo replied with a gentle smile. Snuffy stepped forward, studying his visitor like observing an unexpected piece of art. Then he extended his paw. "You have good taste. You may enter carefully." Mr. Lupo smiled, lifted his paws from the floor like in an elegant salon, and entered. He observed the details of the house with genuine admiration. This house is a work of delicacy and aesthetic solidity, Snuffy added with a small glint of pride in his eyes. They sat on leaf pillows and drank mint tea along with little flour cookies that Snuffy had kept in a special jar. From heaven, Ollie turned another page of the little golden book and said, "Where there is kindness, even the unexpected finds shelter." And the forest grew quieter, as if longing to hear the soft clink of teacups in the most stylish house of the cloud.
In the highest reaches of the cloud forest, where the wind blows calmly and the sky seems to touch the earth, Fluffy walked silently, carrying a small tool bag and a notebook. His round gold glasses gleamed in the morning light, and his blue polka-dot apron fluttered in the breeze as he climbed the hill covered in cream flowers and velveteer leaves. Here, the wind is steady but gentle, the roots are deep, and the horizon is clear, he murmured, marking a small X in the ground with a twig. Fluffy chose this place with his heart. He wanted a home that would last, one that would protect not only from the weather, but also from the days when everything seems quieter. A place where he could welcome his siblings for tea, storytelling, and baking cinnamon cookies with affection. But unlike Puffy, who built with play, and Snuffy, who decorated with art, Fluffy chose to build with calm, work, and patience. His special material, cloud bricks, made of fairy dust from the sky, mixed with golden dewdrops. Each brick was shaped with his own paws and left in the sun to dry, and stacked with precision. "Houses are like recipes," he said, as he laid the layers. The secret lies in the time, the care, and the love with which everything is mixed. The little house grew slowly, with sturdy cream-colored walls, rounded windows with lilac frames, and a low chimney that released vanilla-scented steam. On the roof, Fluffy planted small flowers that gave off a scent whenever the sun touched their petals. Inside, the floor was covered with fluffy rugs, a cloud-shaped armchair, shelves filled with cookbooks, and of course, a carefully organized kitchen with labeled jars and utensils gleaming with care. Up above, Ollie floated with his little golden book open. He watched with admiration and affection. Fluffy built it wisely, with time, care, and warmth in mind, a home where hearts can rest. As dusk fell, as Fluffy decorated the entrance with small lanterns made of dried fruit peels and moonlight thread, he heard footsteps coming down the path. He looked up calmly, not afraid, but alert. It was Mr. Lupo, with his soft, light gray fur, kind eyes, and his pale green scarf gently waving. "Good afternoon, little builder pig," he said with a slight smile. "I saw the smoke from your chimney and smelled chamomile tea. I came, curious." Fluffy watched carefully and after a short silence replied, "Curious is good. Curious listens, observes, and perhaps learns." He opened the door and pointed to the round armchair on the other side of the room. "Come in, but wipe the mud off your paws first." Mr. Lupo smiled gratefully, wiped his feet on a leaf-shaped mat, and entered, bowing respectfully. His eyes sparkled as he saw the organization and attention to every detail. It's a house that smells of history. Fluffy poured 2 cups of chamomile tea with honey and offered freshly baked muffins. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was comfortable. Up high, Ollie turned another page of the little golden book and murmured, "When built with care, even the most unexpected finds rest." And so the wind blew gently across the hill, carrying the aroma of tea and the sound of 2 cups meeting.
The sun had hidden behind a light blue cloud, and the forest began to whisper with different sounds. It was as if the wind had found a new story to tell. It ran through the trees, making the leaves dance, and blew lightly between the 3 little pig brothers' newly built houses. Puffy, in his straw house, lay on a cushion, watching the ribbons on the roof flutter like party streamers. He listened to the wind blowing past and whispered back, "Hello, little breeze. Come in, but very slowly." On the other side of the forest, Snuffy was adjusting the cushions on his porch with a suspicious expression. He could feel the wind moving the mirrors, making the mobiles jingle hurriedly. This breeze is more talkative than usual." Fluffy, on the hill, interrupted his recipe reading when the chimney released a thin stream of smoke that spiraled upward and disappeared all too quickly. "The wind is coming with a message. It's good to listen with an attentive heart." That afternoon, unbeknownst to any of his brothers, Mr. Lupo walked the trails with a worried look. His eyes were bright, but there was a certain tightness in them. He felt the wind pushing at his ears, tugging at his scarf, and whistling in his direction as if trying to tell him something. "Is it time to go back?" he murmured. "Not to scare, not to blow, but to warn." Mr. Lupo had heard, up in the mountains where the wise owls live, that a different storm was approaching the forest. A storm made not only of wind, but of doubts, fears, and unanswered questions. And he knew he needed to act, but carefully. He didn't want to be seen as a threat. Meanwhile, Puffy danced inside his house, laughing as the straw roof swayed and released golden grains into the air. But then, a stronger gust of wind pushed the small window open. The sidewall made a strange sound, as if it had choked. "Hey, that was a little much, huh?" he said, adjusting his crooked hat. In his twig house, Snuffy sighed and ran back and forth, reinforcing the wall ties with extra ribbons. With each new gust of wind, the mobile's shells rattled louder, and the mirrors jingled nervously. "Okay, wind, you're nervous, but in here there's style, elegance, and structure, right?" Fluffy, meanwhile, came down the hill with a lilac mushroom-shaped umbrella. He visited Puffy and Snuffy, one at a time, to check on them. "My walls are dancing, Fluffy," said Puffy, half laughing, half worried. "Mine are singing," complained Snuffy, adjusting his forelock. The wind is an unexpected visitor. When it comes like this, strong, it's a sign that something needs rearranging. But don't worry, I'm nearby. Mr. Lupo watched them from a distance, silently. He wanted so bad to get closer, but didn't know how without looking creepy. So he walked to a rock near Fluffy's house and wrote a message with twigs and leaves. "The wind is coming, not to knock it down, but to test it. I'm here if you need me." Up high, Ollie leafed through his little golden book more slowly than usual. He knew this part of the story was delicate. It's sometimes the wind blows harder, not to scare, but to show who listens, who cares, and who stays. And the sky filled with lilac clouds floating in gentle circles, as if to say, something is coming, but no one is alone.
The next morning, Cloud Forest woke up differently. The sky, normally baby blue with pink flecks, was now covered in billowing light gray clouds like agitated blankets. The flowers seemed to whisper to each other, and the trees swayed their branches as if trying to prepare themselves. The wind no longer danced, it ran. It ran along the paths, through the canopies, and through the doors. Puffy woke to a gust that lifted all the cushions in the living room. His little straw house whimpered like a frightened kitten. Oh, that breeze turned into a gale," he said, trying to hold on to his crooked straw hat, which nearly flew out the little window. The woven straw walls creaked, and the ceiling released dried petals that swirled like frightened confetti. Puffy held the little ball of cloth tightly to his chest, looking around with wide eyes. In his twig house, Snuffy stood on a chair, hurriedly tying extra ribbons to the walls. "Don't panic, Snuffy. You're refined, you're creative. You'll handle this gracefully," he said, but his tie trembled as much as the leaves on the roof. Then came a stronger gust, one of those that pushes the clouds away. The back wall of Puffy's house shook violently, and a corner of the roof flew away, spinning through the air like a runaway kite. "My house is flying away without me," Puffy cried. He ran out the door, his ball in his lap, his eyes brimming with tears, while behind him the straw house gently collapsed, scattering golden
sparks into the air. On the other side of the woods, Snuffy also felt the walls giving way. The force of the wind made the branches snap and the mirrors jingle like warning bells. An entire mobile flew off, and the door creaked until it fell to the side. "No, no, 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 my fancy porch!" Snuffy shouted, trying to hold on to what he could with his fluttering tie. It was at that moment that Puffy came running down the trail, and the two of them found themselves in the middle of the woods, panting and frightened. "My house has fallen down," Puffy said, his voice trembling. "Mine is falling down," Snuffy replied. "Let's go to Fluffy's, now!" And then the two of them ran up the hill, pushed by the wind that seemed to blow urgently. Up above, Fluffy was already waiting for them at the door of his little cloud brick house. He had prepared extra blankets, warm muffins, and chamomile and lavender tea. As soon as he saw his siblings, he opened the door and hugged them without saying a word. Puffy entered with the ball in his arms. Snuffy adjusted his tie with trembling paws, and they both flopped down onto the living room cushions. "I should have made my house stronger," murmured Puffy. "And I should have used more than just beauty," said Snuffy. Fluffy looked at them sweetly. "You did what you had in your hearts, and now you're here. That's what matters." The wind blew hard outside, but the magical brick walls didn't move. Steam from the kettle rose calmly, and the scent of vanilla and peace spread through the room. Outside, Mr. Lupo watched silently, his fur ruffled by the wind and his pale green scarf fluttering. He sighed, happy to see them together and safe. From above, Ollie was watching tenderly. Turning another page of his little golden book, he whispered, "Sometimes when the wind blows hard, it doesn't want to destroy, it wants to bring together." And the sky began to lighten very slowly, as if breathing a sigh of relief.
That night, the wind had finally calmed. Outside, the forest breathed slowly, as if tired from the day's rush. Leaves lay on the pale blue grass, and a fine drizzle of stardust began to fall from the sky. Inside the magical brick house, the three little pigs were huddled under a soft, cream-colored blanket spread across the living room. Puffy held his little ball of cloth like a dream pillow. Snuffy stared at his reflection in a spoon, trying to arrange his top knot more calmly. Fluffy prepared warm milk with honey and drops of sleep flower, stirring slowly with a spoon with a moon-shaped handle. "I thought my home was all I needed," Snuffy said softly, "but today I just wanted a corner with you two." "My house was so light it blew away with the wind," sighed Puffy, "but I think what really matters is the place where we feel safe." Fluffy nodded, handing out the warm mugs. The strongest house in the world still needs voices, smells, hugs. Bricks hold up walls, but what holds us together is love. Outside, under the shower of stars, someone walked with soft steps. It was Mr. Lupo, the gentle wolf with soft, light gray fur, a pale green scarf around his neck, and watchful eyes like those of someone who brings news, not scares. He carried a woven basket with a blue fabric lid,
containing 3 small jars filled with firefly lights and spiced carrot cakes. He stopped in front of the house and hesitated for a moment. Then he knocked softly on the door. Knock! Knock! The 3 little pigs looked at each other. Puffy flinched a little. Snuffy straightened his tie. Fluffy walked to the door with firm but unhurried steps. Opening it, he found Mr. Lupo with his hat between his front paws. "I didn't come to blow. I came to thank you for letting me in when I was so welcome, and to bring something to share." For a moment, there was silence. Then Fluffy opened the door fully and said gently, "Then come in. You have some tea left." Mr. Lupo entered with light steps, and as he sat down on the living room rug, his tail curled slowly around his paws, as if he too wanted to rest. Puffy looked at him, still with some doubt in his eyes, but not fear. Snuffy offered him a biscuit. "These biscuits are made with cinnamon and hugs," commented Fluffy, pouring a mug of tea. Up above, Ollie turned another page of the little golden book, floating on a heart-shaped cloud. His eyes shone like moonlight. Sometimes, the most surprising thing isn't the wind that tears you down, but the kindness that rebuilds you. And the shower of stars continued to fall slowly outside, as if the sky was smiling too.
Time seemed to stand still inside the magical brick house. The wall clock, shaped like a smiling mushroom, ticked so softly it sounded like the breathing of a sleeping kitten. Outside, the shower of stars continued to fall, illuminating the window with softly twinkling golden lights. The 3 little pigs and Mr. Lupo sat around the small round table, covered by a light blue tablecloth embroidered with clouds. Each held a mug of hot tea, and in the center was a small plate of fragrant cakes, each decorated with lavender petals. Puffy, hugging his little ball of cloth, looked at the wolf with curious eyes. "Were you always like this, calm and gentle?" Mr. Lupo smiled with his nose lowered. "Not always. When I was a little wolf, I thought I had to blow to be heard. Sounds like power came from noise." Snuffy swirled his spoon around in his mug, making the tea swirl like a whirlwind of flowers. "And what changed?" Mr. Lupo looked out the window where the drops sparkled like tiny suns. "One day, someone heard me even when I didn't say anything. It was an old owl with crooked glasses who lived in a treetop. She said, 'The strong wind is just heaven's way of asking for silence.'" Fluffy nodded silently. His golden glasses reflected the light from the fireplace. "You learned to listen to the wind without shouting at it, and to speak softly, so my words wouldn't hurt," the wolf added softly. For a few moments, no one spoke. It was a beautiful silence, the kind that fits in the middle of a hug. Then Puffy, still holding the ball, said, "I like it when you're around. I just get confused because everyone always told stories about a wolf who blows everything away." Mr. Lupo looked at him sweetly. "The story you tell isn't always the story you live." Snuffy straightened his tie and commented, "You should tell your own version." Fluffy stood up and returned with a blank little book with a lilac cover and the scent of newborn paper. "Tell us, and we'll write together." Mr. Lupo's eyes widened. "Would you write my story?" "With all the words that don't hurt," Fluffy replied. "And with really pretty drawings," Puffy said. "And really stylish titles," Snuffy added. Mr. Lupo took a deep breath and began to tell, his voice trembling with emotion. He spoke of when he was little, of when he felt afraid of himself, and of when he realized he could choose another path. And thus, a new book was born. Each page was carefully written, illustrated with hearts, dancing leaves, and little stars drawn with colored charcoal. They called it The Wolf Who Learned to Whisper. Up in the sky, Oli closed his eyes with a small smile, his little golden book shining in his lap. Some wolves don't blow, they care. And the cloud he was floating on turned gently like a leaf in the wind, carrying with it the sound of giggles coming from the cozy little house.
The next morning, the sky dawned with shades of peach and lilac, as if I'd slept well and dreamed beautifully. The first rays of sunlight slipped through the leaves of the forest, caressing the grass with golden fingers. The shower of stars had stopped, and in their place, tiny luminescent flowers sprouted from the ground, as if the earth had decided to smile. In the magical brick house, the three little pigs and Mr. Lupo woke slowly, lulled by the scent of freshly baked sweetbread and the soft sound of a tea kettle humming. Fluffy, as always, was already up, wearing her blue polka dot apron and her gold glasses, stirring a fluffy dough with a star-shaped spoon. Snuffy combed her top knot with a pocket mirror, humming softly, while Puffy played with the little ball of cloth, bouncing it on a pillow. Mr. Lupo, still a little shy, helped set the table, setting out the little jars of jam and the crescent-shaped cutlery. After breakfast, Fluffy clapped his hands. "Today, we're going to rebuild, but no one can do it alone." Puffy's eyes widened. "You mean my straw house? And my twig house?" Snuffy added in surprise. Mr. Lupo smiled, and with his tail curled calmly said, "This time, we'll mix your ideas with new ones, with what we've learned together." And then the little caravan formed, the three little pigs, the kind wolf, and Fluffy leading the way with a basket full of tools, cakes, and ribbons. They first arrived at the flower field where Puffy's old house stood. In place of straws, there were now petals on the ground, and butterflies sleeping in the flowers. Puffy knelt down and smiled. "Let's make a house that dances with the wind, but doesn't fly away with it." With the help of his brothers and the wolf, Puffy built a new house of light wood, decorated with straw and cloud-shaped glass panels. Inside, they placed his favorite pillows, the little ball of cloth on a special altar, and golden ribbons that only swayed in gentle breezes. Then they followed the trail to Snuffy's aromatic nook. Branches and mirrors had fallen here and there, but the flowers still perfumed the air. "My new house will be elegant, but with a firm foundation," said Snuffy confidently. Together, they built a small house of wood and polished stone with decorated columns, colored windows, and mirrors securely held in enchanted iron frames.
Mr. Lupo took care of security, Puffy took care of decorations, and Fluffy brought special seashells for the mobiles. Then everyone returned to the hill. The sky was already turning a deep pink, and the lanterns around Fluffy's house began to light up one by one. In front of the house, they set up a long table with floral tablecloths, plates of cupcakes, petal tea, and cloud juice. Lanterns hung from the branches, and shiny stones scattered on the ground created a magical scene. Puffy put on the first song, Snuffy danced with a napkin on his head, Fluffy laughed softly, and Mr. Lupo watched with teary eyes, but with emotion. Up in the sky, Ollie, the baby blue teddy bear with eyes that seemed to glow with the universe, floated on his round cloud, holding the little golden book in his lap. He closed his eyes and whispered, "When hearts build together, no house is too small." And a staring star passed by, as if signing the scene with light.
Night descended on Cloud Forest like a dark blue velvet blanket, dotted with tiny stars that twinkled like sleepy eyes. A soft silence spread among the trees, broken only by the soft sound of lanterns swaying in the wind and the distant laughter of those who know they are safe. From above, on a floating cloud with rounded edges and a soft glow, Ollie watched. The baby blue bear with eyes as bright as starlight and a peaceful expression held his little golden book to his chest. His little feet dangled in the air as he tenderly watched the three little houses below. They were no longer alone. Puffy, Snuffy, and Fluffy had chosen to build them side by side in a high field overlooking the entire valley. Now they formed a small village of comfort. Three little houses with different personalities but connected by trails of lights, paths of flowers, and bridges of friendship. Puffy's new little house was light, round, made of light wood with straw details and star-shaped windows. Outside, there were cushions on the floor and a wind swing attached to a tree branch. Inside, Puffy slept with his little ball of cloth close to his heart, breathing softly. Snuffy's house was sturdy and charming, decorated with tightly hung mirrors, shiny mobiles, and gilded frames. In the garden, flower-shaped lanterns lit the way. Inside, Snuffy slept with his tie folded on the nightstand and a proud smile on his face. Fluffy's house, with its cloud-like bricks and constant vanilla scent, was a gathering place. It had a table always set, windows that never closed completely, and a little bell that rang when the wind wanted to blow in. He slept in the living room chair, covered in a lilac blanket with a still warm cup forgotten beside him. And outside, in a soft corner between two silver-leafed trees, Mr. Lupo lay curled up on his own tail under a blanket the piglets had sewn for him, made of light, fragrant fabrics with little hearts embroidered on the paws. From heaven, Ollie smiled. He opened the little golden book once more, writing in glittering letters. And so, between rebuilt houses and entwined hearts, the wind learned to whisper, and the whispers became songs. He then closed the book carefully, and with a snap of his fingers, tiny stars began to fall from the sky, ever so slowly, like goodbye kisses. A final heart-shaped cloud passed over the little houses, and Ollie whispered softly, "The strength of a house is in the love it harbors. And when love spreads, three little houses can become a home as big as the sky." And so the forest fell asleep, peacefully, with gratitude, with stories to tell in dreams. The